Hello, blockchain fans and crypto enthusiasts. My guest today is Josh Riddett, talking to me from the UK about their GPU mining rigs. The company is Easy Crypto Hunter. So we're going to talk about how they're going to change the renewable energy sector using crypto mining rigs and how they're actually doing it currently in the UK and elsewhere.
The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. You're listening to episode number 183 of The Blockchain Show. I'm your host, Ethan Kinderconnect, and today I'm talking with Josh Riddett, the CEO of Easy Crypto Hunter. Josh, welcome to The Blockchain Show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Ethan. Yeah, excited to be with you today.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I know you got a lot of cool stuff behind you there. So,
yeah, no, this is we're in one of our offices here. This is just one of our test areas. So obviously we build a lot of GPU mining kit and get it out to people. So this is just one of our test areas where we make sure kit is good to go before we get it out to clients.
Well, I'm excited to get into that. Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to the blockchain space?
Yeah, the whole crypto thing. So, I was probably back in 2013, 2014. I was at university over here, and I'd always been, quite academic, always did, quite well at school. So went off to university thinking, go and get a good degree, right? Because that's what you do. And I ended up at quite a good business university over here in the UK at Lancaster. But I quickly realized that, going to university to academically study business is quite difficult because, reading books only gets you so far. And, sometimes you've got to get a little bit dirty, right? To make it all happen. So I ended up dedicating a lot of my time to kind of like a society, an entrepreneurial organization that I ended up running and becoming the president of. So part of running that organization, there was a lot of earnest and a lot of kind of pressure on me to help give entrepreneurial advice to the students that were part of that group. And we grew it quite large and did some really impressive things. And as a consequence of constantly trying to bring to those students' attention other cool entrepreneurial things and different business things, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency kind of caught my attention. And this was way back, 2013, 2014. And I ended up putting all these posters around the university. And I said, hey, everyone, come to this lecture on Thursday at 7:00. And I'm going to tell you about this amazing thing called Bitcoin. And it's going to change your life and make you loads of money. And most people, obviously, thought I was crazy. But here we are a couple of years later. And I was certainly very happy that I took the time and the decision to enter the space when I did. And obviously, we managed to go down that route and take things from there. And yeah, I guess too many late nights on YouTube is probably the reason why I'm here, which is a great thing. So I'm very thankful for not being able to sleep at university and wanting to know how to make some money from machines, which is quite cool. That passive income has always been a really attractive element, and being able to have a machine that did that, I thought was kind of crazy. And the more you know about it, it turns out that's a real thing, and what a great thing to be involved in.
Yeah, totally. I love that. You can definitely relate to people thinking that you were crazy back then. Now it's a worldwide phenomenon. So tell me what it's like, how much it's changed since you first got into it, and kind of how that moment when you realized that this could be a viable option for people to make money.
So it was back then, that story really. What I ended up doing from that was I got people to this lecture hall, and I basically, obviously as a student, didn't have any money to rub together, and this was just as the first ASIC miners were coming on the scene for Bitcoin. And I realized that there was a big technology jump that was happening there from what was GPU at the time then to ASIC. And I realized that if my kind of thought process was why buy these coins if we can create them ourselves, if we can mine them, right? So I really wanted to get into that creation side of things. So I ended up putting this little presentation together, and it was all basically a kind of ploy to try to get my friends or people that were there to team up and invest with me in what was then one of the world's first Bitcoin ASIC miners, with the logic being we'll make loads of coins, sell the coins and buy more equipment, and we'll grow it from there. And the long and short of it was this is before Bitmain was ever on the scene. There's loads of different competitors in that market, and they all kind of overpromised and underdelivered. And the top and bottom of it is we never got our machine. We got our money back, thankfully, and that was kind of the end of that. Didn't really think too much more about it because, of course, all the altcoins didn't even exist at this point in time. So it was really a very, blank page at that time. The very early coins were in existence. And I thought, well, if I can't get involved in ASIC Bitcoin mining right at the beginning, then I've missed it. I thought the window was over. I thought the doors were closed. And that was really it. But then, of course, as the years went by and the altcoin market really started to explode after Ethereum came on the scene. And again, that was a GPU-based kind of way of moving forward. I thought, well, there's no way in hell I'm, smart enough and have the resources to make a custom chip to mine Bitcoin like an ASIC machine. But I reckon I could probably do something with the graphics card. And what I realized through that process in 2016, 2017, when I started on the hardware side of things, was it was really, really complicated and very difficult. And I, through this research and understanding, grew a huge passion for blockchain and crypto. And I wanted everyone to be involved in it, but it was just so hard that it wasn't reasonable to expect the average person to get involved with this. So I ended up then realizing the need firsthand that what if these machines that are needed to power this whole blockchain system were just as easy as buying it, plugging it in, turn it on, and off you go. So ultimately, I realized there was a big gap there in the market for that to happen. And subsequently, Easy Crypto Hunter was born. And that was really how I ended up being able to provide that solution for people where you can plug it in, turn it on. You don't need to be a geek. You don't need to be a coder. You can just be an average business person that wants to get involved with this space and can take away all the technical difficulties that are associated with it. So that's really where we got into it. And now we spend a lot of our time kind of educating people, even within the crypto community. I'm sure there's many people that listen to this, to your great podcast, that don't really know all that much about cryptocurrency mining other than maybe you mine Bitcoin. There's a massive, massive miscommunication and misunderstanding about altcoin mining, what it is, what it's not, and how it works. And a lot of people just simply don't realize that if you want to get as much Bitcoin as possible, it's actually much better to mine the smaller coins and convert to Bitcoin than mining Bitcoin directly.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are not aware of that. So walk me through what it would look like if somebody would like to get involved. I'm just kind of curious if anybody's listening who's in your part of the world. Like, how does that work? Do they have to buy their way in, or is it like a rent sort of thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, so firstly, it's really around the world. We have clients pretty much anywhere. We manufacture this equipment you can see behind me. We build that from scratch and we sell it. So we're a hardware provider. So imagine GPU Bitmain, basically. So we make the machines, we sell the machines. The client buys the machine, they own it 100%, and they receive 100% of the revenue from that device. So we just sell the equipment, we educate people as to what it is, how it works, and then as part of the bundle, me and my team here basically give permanent lifetime advice as to how to use the machine to mine the most profitable coin at that point in the market and help that client to earn as much money as possible as the market continues to move forward. So what that means in real terms is you can buy a computer, take it home, plug it into a normal internet connection, normal plug socket, turn it on, and then you're mining from day one. And you have full ability to mine, not just, it's an altcoin machine, so you can mine any of the 800 plus mineable coins that exist with new coins coming out all the time.
Wow, that's really awesome. I love that. Love that you guys actually make the hardware. That's huge. With it being global, I know that in some countries there's different kind of regulations around cryptocurrencies, but I saw that you were an advisor to Home Office and also the EU Parliament as a counselor or advisor. Tell me about just kind of the process of starting the company, and if you ran into any kind of hurdles or what you're doing to try to help mainstream adoption there.
Starting the company obviously was pretty tough because weirdly enough, I can sit here now and I know all the ins and outs of all these things, but a lot of people presume I'm like a computer nerd. It's just not the case. I mean, I'm a business guy, really, first and foremost. I'm not a coder. I can't write a line of code. I'm not a super geek. Thankfully, I know my way around a computer and I can, build things. But more than that, I'm not, particularly gifted, is the honest truth. There's many, many people watching this that will know hundreds of things more about the internal workings of computers than I do. But I knew enough to be able to make it work. And what I realized was it was so difficult. This is where we kind of broke down these barriers and made it easy for people to get involved. So in the beginning, obviously, a lot of the attention for the business came from mining Ethereum, because that was obviously the big coin to mine a few years ago. So obviously once Ethereum started running and we had the bull run of 2017, obviously there was very, large amounts of people that were very interested, and that kind of helped accelerate the business quite quickly. So we kind of rode that wave, which was really helpful. And then obviously as the market matured to where we are now, there's hundreds and hundreds of other coins which people have the access to be able to mine. And what I realized was my passion for the sector rotates very simply around getting as many people involved as possible. And I kind of approached that in a more rational way, dare I say, where rather than me spending all my waking hours trying to speak with every individual on every street corner to kind of spread the word to every single person on the ground, the approach which I've taken is if we work with, higher net worth business individuals or people that have their own sphere of influence, that, my clients who might spend, 10,000, 100,000, 200,000 pounds on equipment, they, in their own world, employ people, have businesses, have different partners and so forth. So very commonly now, 3 years into the business, there's some of my clients who started off wanting the passive income from crypto mining, who now in their own more traditional companies, oil, gas, insurance, property, whatever, now accept crypto payments from their tenants or from their people in their shops, or, the whole ecosystem develops really quickly. We've even got some of my people that are looking at paying their staff in crypto. So there's some really interesting developments, and I believe that kind of, talking with people that have their own sphere of influence helps disseminate that message much faster than I can ever do individually, which is one of the kind of mechanisms as to why we've positioned the business where we have, notwithstanding the fact that there's actually a lot of tax benefits from purchasing equipment that not a lot of people are often aware of. So rather than trying to go after people in the crypto space to try and sell crypto equipment to, our actual main customer target is business owners that understand passive investments and would compare crypto mining to, I can get 10, 11, 12% renting out a property. Well, actually, I can get 50, 60, 70% crypto mining. So why don't I do that instead? So when you compare cryptocurrency mining to traditional investments, it's exceptionally profitable versus trying to say, hey, mine this crypto, rather than trying to, get the moon boys involved that want a 10x on a coin they've just bought yesterday, which sometimes is, a kind of flaw of our market where there have been, such large price movements historically sometimes. So that's kind of where we've positioned the business, and that's been very successful because some of our largest clients are property investors or farmers that are diversifying their investments, or renewable energy is a massive one, which I'm sure we'll get onto. So we've ended up with a very kind of bizarre client base for the crypto space, but we've done that on purpose because it attracts quote unquote normal business people into this ecosystem, which I feel is the best way to help the whole system move forward as fast as possible.
Let's get into that. I'm curious about the renewable energy. I know that you guys are trying to further that initiative, and you've got kind of a unique way that you're going about that. So maybe just give us a quick little breakdown about how you're helping people kind of transition to renewable energy incentively.
So just to kind of set the scene for the listeners, a lot of people have this misconception that mining cryptocurrency uses a huge amount of energy. Now, objectively speaking, it does. There's no getting away from that. But what people fail to understand is the wider blockchain itself. So what I mean by that is that a lot of people will say, oh, Bitcoin uses so much power for all this mining it does. Why do we need that? What a waste of power. We need to save the planet. This is a stupid waste of resources. Now, that is often an argument that isn't ever discussed in its fair nuance. So, for example, nobody ever has a problem with Google having gargantuan amounts of warehouses and server spaces because they enjoy the ease of a Google search. No one complains about all the power that's used in the current modern day banking system to do online banking. And people fail to understand that blockchain technology effectively removes, or has the ability to remove, the vast majority of third-party providers, be that insurance, supply chain logistics, medical records, data, so on and so forth. All of those in which have huge carbon emissions and footprints of their own right. So, yes, of course, I guess the best example is no one's beating Elon Musk over the head for mining lithium for making electric cars. We all accept on the net of it, electric cars is a really good thing. But of course, his factories will, of course, use power in that process. And that's a more analytical way of looking at cryptocurrency mining, because there's actually a lot of secondary benefits that will come from that development of technology, which will actually have vastly positive effects on the planet and its own ecosystem as a comparative to existing infrastructures. So that's probably the first argument on a much kind of wider level. But particularly what we do here is quite unique. And what I mean by that is, so obviously a lot of misconceptions come from Bitcoin mining. So firstly, graphics card mining uses vastly less power. It's a much more efficient operation. But more than that, in the UK at least, and this is mirrored in many other countries around the world, is that for all the government says it wants to help save the world and make the world green and green energy and such, it's now no longer got an appetite, unfortunately, to pay for it. So if you want to, or if you used to go and make a field of solar panels or wind turbines or hydropower sites, you used to get paid quite handsomely for every kilowatt of power that you generated. Now, over the years, the number that you got paid for each unit of electric has come down and down and down and down and down. So as it stands in the UK at the moment, since March this year, you now get paid 0 pence for any new renewable energy installation. So there is no financial incentive to go and build some wind turbines, build a solar farm, build a hydro site or an anaerobic digester. 0. So ultimately, why do we expect people to do this? What people don't realize is that at the moment, even people with existing contracts who do still get paid per unit that they produce, that's still quite a small payment, maybe 4, 5, 6 pence per kilowatt that they produce. Now, if one of my mining units uses 1 kilowatt of power, and last year it produced £7,100 of income, you can work those numbers backwards. So actually, if you sold the coins in proportion of the power that was used, you actually earn over 10 times more than what you would have got from selling that power directly. So what this means is, instead of not building a new green energy site, instead of not building a new solar farm, wind farm, hydro farm, what we're saying is, and our messaging is, and now thankfully we're on 24 renewable energy installs here in the UK, is build your new facility, put on lots of mining equipment, and maybe have a 20 or 30% allocation of that power to the mining equipment. That will finance the entire operation, and then we can have a net benefit of new green energy going into the grid. So what we've created is an entirely independent of government subsidy model that gives renewable energy an entire new future that else it never would have had, all thanks to cryptocurrency.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, if people are just listening on the audio stream, they can probably hear behind you the, kind of the whirling of what I assume that's some of the units, or what is that?
No, it's not actually. That's the fans. We have, obviously, my team actually work in this office. So we have, obviously, you've just got a small frame here of what you can see. But we have a decent chunk of equipment in the office here. So this is our sales office in Manchester in the UK. It's not really, designed to be a big mining facility or anything. It's more a traditional office with lots of equipment in. So the room doesn't lay itself well to what we do here particularly. So we do have a couple of fans on the floor just to move the air around, just to make sure the boys don't get too hot while they're working. So it's not actually too much of a concern. It's really just the fans that you can hear. So if we turn the fans off, which we probably could do actually, or probably should have done for the purpose of this, the machines are virtually silent. That's, again, one of the advantages of GPU mining versus ASIC machines, which if they were a rack of ASICs, this conversation would be impossible.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I mean, I know that we're talking different currencies in terms of, what you guys pay for what is it, pence
power,
per?
Yeah, pence per kilowatt. So yes, a cent per kilowatt, same thing, yeah.
Do you have any initiatives in other countries, or are you kind of just sticking with?
No, very much so. So now we've kind of scaled here in the UK quite well. We've just got our first people looking at doing things in Venezuela, actually, of all places. We've got some things going on in South Mexico. We've got some things in Australia, New Zealand, the United States. So we've got a few projects out in different places, because irrespective of dollars, cents, pounds, whatever, the principle's the same. All this government paying for power or the grid buying the power back is the principle that all green energy works on across the world. So irrespective of the denomination of currency, ultimately cryptocurrency can multiply that by multiple times. So, it has secondary applications as well. So say for, things like shale gas mining, where you might have to burn off the gas consistently just because you can't afford to store it in the middle of wherever you're doing that. again, you can put a generator on site and actually take advantage of that power as well. So because we do as well as single units like this that you can rack and stack, we also do remote containerized solutions that you can go and drop on a site. You're able to have technology wherever it's needed as well. So ultimately, there's a lot of wasted power in the world, which we can monetize, which helps the grid. And there's a lot of people that want to invest in green energy moving forward, but need a financial incentive to be able to make that viable. We do both of that here. So ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, the more people mining crypto, the better, not for their pockets, but actually for the environment as well. And that's something not often a lot of people realize is possible.
Yeah, that's interesting. Earlier, you were talking about the misconception that it's so expensive to mine crypto. I agree with you. I don't really know the numbers of what it costs to run the legacy banking system, but it's got to be
it's a big chunk.
Greater. And then when you're talking about excess energy that the different companies, I assume that's like oil or gas, they have to burn off that. That's such a brilliant use case right there, just to help people earn money through crypto. I mean, I never would have thought of that. So what are some ways that you help explain this to people? Because I imagine that a lot of business people are just, maybe they're coming around or they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're the biggest company that does this, particularly in the UK. And, as the leader in a market, is unfortunately, we bear the brunt of the educational cost. So I will spend most of my time, doing things like this, or more so kind of obviously Corona's kind of made things very difficult this year, but on average I'll be doing 30, 40 keynote talks a year, but rather than again focusing on the crypto crowd, that isn't really where I spend my time. I spend my time on the more traditional business market. So that would be me keynoting at the energy show, or for example, the British Hydropower Association, where we've been endorsed as official product for anyone that's building a new hydropower site. So I'll spend my time with the people that manufacture hydro turbines, or the people that manufacture wind sites, or anaerobic digestion. So we kind of get quite deep into the energy space and talk at these places where you wouldn't normally expect to find a crypto company. But again, it's because the results which we have are so strong. There's really nothing else out there on the market that can offer what we can offer. And again, in a decentralized manner where you can buy these today, put them on your site, and you're earning money tomorrow. There's no red tape, no contracts to sign, no waiting for payments, and no connection to the grid, and all these kind of things which people don't realize are out there. And once you really understand the energy market, it's quite scary because there's so much energy that's being wasted for, political reasons, or this is too expensive to do reasons, or there's a lot of kind of holes which we can fill, which in themselves help, the ecosystem. But again, creating a new, if people will get paid more for building wind turbines through crypto, then that means more green energy for everyone and more money in investors' pockets, which is fantastic. That's a win-win. I want to save the world as much as the next person, but I'm also realistic to the financial implications of that. And no one's going to do it if there's no upside. So if we can create a financial upside and incentivize people to use more green power, build more green sites, I just think that's a really good use of our time as a company, and a really great time of myself personally. And I just feel that's a really good thing to be able to, demonstrate that cryptocurrency isn't this big evil that sucks power out of the world that does no good. It's actually a force for good when used in the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I know that here in Southern California over the last, I think it's been a month or maybe less, they were having kind of like scheduled rolling blackouts where they would shut off power to certain portions of the state, just to kind of we were getting the official response was to help save power for those who need it. There's also the whole wildfire issues where they were trying to mitigate some of the accidents and all that sort of thing. And it kind of, it's a little frustrating, but you kind of, we did our part. We turned our ACs down at certain times of the day, or up rather, and didn't wash clothes during the day. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, this is crazy. We're living in one of the richest states in the country, and yet we can't even keep our power on. And it just kind of, it brought me back to, why don't we have more solar? We get over 300 days of sun a year here. And then I thought back even further to, in one of the canyons, there was a friend of one of our kids, and they had set up a huge solar array. They were making way too much power than they needed, so they set up a little microgrid for their neighbors. And the power company came in suits and they shut them down. They're like, this is illegal. You cannot do this.
Yeah.
The more and more I thought about it, I was like, this power company has a monopoly on our energy. What is it going to take for us to make our own electricity, use the grid if we need it? But for a lot of people, they don't even need it, but legally they have to use it. And they'll cite things like code or fire concerns or whatnot. But
yeah, thankfully it's not quite as strict here in the UK. Independent power is a little bit more achievable. We have a lot of farmers that we work with. One of the types of renewable energy which isn't often spoke about is something called anaerobic digestion, which is actually probably the most green form of energy that we have, which is little understood, but it's not quite so big in America, but it's basically like a mechanical stomach, a bit like a big cow's stomach, and that's where all the waste cow poo and slurry and all the kind of offcuts from the harvest will go. And it basically blends it all up in a big warm juice, and that gives off methane. And then you burn that methane in a generator and it generates electric. So it literally takes, so we have a hosting facility where we actually run some equipment ourselves, some of our clients and things in Wales here in the UK. So we're literally crypto mining on 100% cow poo.
Wow.
So not a lot of people realize this even exists or is a thing. But again, those sites, because they're all operated by independent owners on independent properties, have full control of what they do with that power. And often the de facto is just, well, I'll pump it into the grid and I'll get as much money as I can, whatever that may be. Even in the UK, our electric grid system is very poor in the fact it's not really designed to take power back in. It's just designed to give power out. So what we're left with is a situation where it's very expensive to connect a new site to the grid. And often you might have an ability to only pump in 50 or 60 or 70% of the maximum capacity of that facility. So you end up with huge amounts of power that just get blasted off into the air because there's not really a place for that to go. So this is where, we come in and, we're on all sorts of different types of, wood biogas engines, anaerobic digesters, wind, solar, hydro. We're pretty much on everything out there now as terms of renewable energy goes, because a mining rig doesn't care how the power's made, just plug it into the wall and off it goes. And that's a really, really exciting thing. So this isn't exclusive to one type of renewable energy. The principle is identical across the board. And that's one of the things that we're very passionate about, is communicating this message. And the bizarre thing is actually our biggest resilience as a business moving forward is the numbers look too good. And that's actually a problem. Like, the investors struggle to believe that the numbers are real because it's literally 10 times what else they would have got previously. And therefore that raises a lot of questions to them. And that's, almost a drawdown sometimes in some respects. But ultimately that's the beauty that cryptocurrency has to offer. And, now we've got evidence of many, many sites to be able to say these are what the numbers were last year. These are what they were the year after. My big kind of play for the business moving forward is that we work hand in hand with these renewable energy financiers, the people who you go to lend £5 million to build with. And I'm hoping that rather than borrowing £5 million, maybe you borrow £6 million, and £1 million of that goes on crypto equipment, which then in turn enables you to then build a second or third site. So that's kind of where we're wanting to move to as a business, scaling moving forward.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm always impressed with this industry and just blockchain technology as a whole, because there's always something that I didn't think about that's being worked on or is made possible. And it all starts out as an idea in someone's head or just kind of a happy accident sort of thing. And I'm curious if you've had any of those kind of realizations since you started the company, and if so or if not, do you think that there's anything in the future that you'd like to see happen that you're not really seeing yet?
Obviously, the whole power thing, that was something that happened naturally. No one else was doing that, and that was just something that I kind of put two and two together and ran with. So quite proud of that. But ultimately, there's still such a long way to go, and I feel that the biggest problem that we have as an ecosystem for crypto and blockchain is that, particularly if you look at the current corona financial crisis, and you look obviously particularly what you've done there in America, where $6 trillion has just kind of materialized out of thin air. A lot of people don't understand the current financial system or general basic finance well enough to be able to look objectively at something like Bitcoin and crypto, to then see the advantage that presents. So whilst everyone is getting very excited about trying to get more people in the crypto space, what I think would be a better use of resources to some extent would be to educate the average person more about how the actual financial system works. Because if you get your friends around the table or your family, you can guarantee that virtually none of them will be able to tell you what the problem was when we moved away from the gold standard, or what are the implications of a fractional reserve banking system. And until you understand those things at somewhat of a decent level, it's very difficult to look at alternatives like Bitcoin to be able to really logically see the benefit in those as an alternative system moving forward. So I think general education of general finance is probably something that, I'm also quite passionate about communicating with people, because without knowing what the advantages are or the disadvantages of the current system, it's difficult to see the advantages of the alternative.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. If more people realize just how, especially in America, how the system is working, I think they would be a lot quicker to get on the crypto side of things. And it's all related: energy, money, finance. These are all issues we're going to have to address moving forward, because I think we can agree that the legacy, the traditional systems, they're really not serving us well, and we're kind of seeing the leaks in the dam, if you will, especially nowadays. Well, Josh, this has been a really good talk. I know we're running out of time here, so I just wanted to give you the last minute and a half here to kind of tell us where we can go to get involved, to learn more, and stay connected.
Yeah, so easycryptohunter.co.uk is the website. We've got a YouTube channel, Easy Crypto. You're more than welcome to subscribe along there, where that's all just free content and information for people to learn more about the space. We have international clients all around the world, so there's no restriction on sending things to people. But more than that, we have an open office here. So if anyone is in Europe or the UK, we welcome people to come and see us, come see where we manufacture the stuff. And, there's unfortunately so much BS sometimes in the crypto space. It's really nice to be able to have a real world, tangible, physical item that you paid your money on, which, you're able to then get involved in the crypto space with. So we just like to keep it honest, open, transparent, ask those questions, be as helpful as we can. So, if anyone does have anything, please feel free to get in touch with me after this, and we'll be more than happy to help.
All right. Sounds good, man. Josh, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
No problem. Thanks very much, Ethan. Take care.